Hello and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with a Kick. We are back here with another full slate of midweek action with some EPL mixed in with the Champions League, as a matter of fact. But before we get to those, we're going to recap Matchday 1 of knockout stage knockouts before we get to round of 16. In Matchday 2, we'll get to that at the end. We're going to start with the Premier League action that just occurred over the weekend. However, it does stretch back to the Merseyside derby rescheduling that occurred last Tuesday, a week ago. Maybe today? I think this is actually Monday evening that we're putting this out. I don't have a lot to say about the Merseyside derby back there. Liverpool did get the victory, as expected. But anything that you wanted to say about that one in particular?
Everton, as we'll talk about with their next result, they've been on a run. They put up 13 points in 15 of possible 15 in the last 5 match weeks. So David Moyes has got them purring. They played really well, though, in this one.
And it was a draw, not a victory for Liverpool. That's right. Because this weekend went poorly for all of us. I forgot the Tarkovsky 90+8 equalizer that drew the level.
I mean, he hit that as if the entire Everton fan base was behind him. It was a top shelf rocket from only 9 yards out, no stopping it. But hey, Liverpool has been winning those games when they've gotten up 2-1 late. So good on them. You obviously saw some fighting there at the end. I think 3 or 4 red cards were brandished at the end of the match. All fun and games. But hey, Liverpool, these midweek games over and over and over and over and over again might be catching up to them.
And I won't tip my hand at what I'm predicting for this midweek action for Liverpool, but I am taking that into account. But we'll start with the match day proper for match day 25 with Brighton Hove Albion holding home serve. What is this? A 3-0 victory over Chelsea? Did not have that in the books, obviously. Start off pretty even, but then in the 27th minute, a long ball over the top released Mitoma to get the goal there in the 27th minute. And then Yakubu Minta got the first of his Danny Welbeck brace in the 38th, with Chelsea just kind of being unable to clear the ball. It wasn't a well-worked goal, really, by Brighton, but, if it hits the back of net, no one's complaining. And then on the last one, it was, oh boy, I can't read that, but it was another Yakubu Minta goal. I should really try to write these notes a little bit more clearly.
Yeah, this one, it was really I don't know if I would say this was the most shocking result of the season so far, but when you look at how the game went, Chelsea dominated the ball. Yeah. I'm shocked it was even 70-30. It felt like 80-20, if not more. Brighton rarely saw the ball, but they took advantage of pretty much every opportunity they got. Chelsea didn't even get a shot on target. So kind of a strange one between these two. I really thought Chelsea was going to be the team scoring 3. Brighton, I thought, was going to get 1, but 3-0, that we're starting to see that inexperience creep in for Chelsea a little bit more, because once they went down, they kind of just, all right, so do we just pass the ball around now? What do we do? Who's going to step up? There wasn't really a team feel about them after that.
No, and it's Chelsea. They've let Man City back into Premier League qualifying with that result, and with the one that occurs for Man City here in a second. So now they're on the outside looking in. It's very tight there at the bottom. That 3-4 spot is going to be what's interesting going forward. Probably we'll see how Liverpool continues to do. That gap is slowly, sort of closing between Arsenal and Liverpool, but not enough for it to be a timely consideration. We'll move on from that one to the previously mentioned Arsenal. They went in to King Power Stadium and took care of business, a 2-0 victory. Really, though, Leicester early in this match had up until the 80th minute, had plenty of chances. They didn't feel like they were totally outmatched, as their point differential might dictate. But Arsenal finally, 81st minute, Mikel Merino gets a goal there from Nwaneri. And then in the 86th minute, 87th minute, that one was much more indicative of Leicester's performance so far this season. Totally unmarked on the backside of play, and he's just able to get in there and put the death knell into Leicester for the 2-0 victory.
Mikel Merino, center back by trade, Arsenal's new number 9 by substitution. Apparently, he's going to be the man now, to be the number 9.
Yeah.
When I think they said he played attacker last when he was 15. So, hey, wherever you can get goals from, I get it. I understand City have been there. But, yeah, I mean, his first header, that first goal, I don't even know. It didn't even look like Leicester had a guy try to jump and contest the ball. Like, one guy was in front of him, but I mean, it was just a sitter for him, and it was just an easy flick. The goalkeeper was poorly positioned, doesn't even move at the reaction of the header. So, I don't know. This was more of Leicester just really playing poorly at the back than Arsenal really, like, being the team. The counterattack when it was to make it 2-0, that was a good one. I feel like you had Calafiori linking up with Mikel Merino. And 2 center backs end up being the best attackers for Arsenal. I don't know how that's going to play out, but hey, a win's a win, especially an away win.
And they're still in second. They're still in second. Then how'd you like this Aston Villa Ipswich Town draw? My tractor boys almost came through for me with the 3 points. Not quite, though.
This one, I mean, Aston Villa played so poorly for most of this match. Especially, I mean, they get 10 men. They get Ipswich down to 10 men.
In the first half, no less.
In the first half. And in the second half, they kind of came out hot, but it's almost like they came out to just like, we're going to possess them to death. And then we're going to find a goal. But it wasn't really, I don't even know. But, the goal from Delap was a beauty of a goal. I mean, that's got to be considered for goal of the season just because there's no angle there. 2 guys are on his back. It hits off of his toe and goes into the opposite side of the net. Beautiful. I mean, Hutchison, it was a good cross, but I don't even think he thought that was going to happen. He was just crossing it in just to do it. So, good one. Watkins, though, the rebound looked incredibly nonchalant. Rashford's free kick hits off that post, and then he just taps it in, doesn't even celebrate. You don't even see his shoulders go up. Just nonchalant, rips one in. But 1-1 at home, that's got to sting for Aston Villa, especially against Ipswich.
Yeah, it wasn't a great result for them. Ipswich coming to a winning position while a man down. I mean, it was against the run of play, granted, but still, Ipswich Town, they were fighting. This showed that the Tractor Boys got some fight left in them. You know, they're not going to go down. They probably are going to go down, but they're at least going to try to not go down. So maybe I can keep riding that horse a little bit. I'll try to pull back to more of a draw than a victory scenario for the Tractor Boys to try to get some units play there. But I think we both also missed that one, right? Yeah, we both missed the Chelsea one. We both missed. No, I did pick Arsenal, luckily. Otherwise, the weekend would have been even worse. But neither of us picked a draw on that one. Then we get to another one that neither of us got correct. You'll hear that a lot this weekend. Fulham takes out Nottingham Forest 2-1.
Yeah. First goal, Traore, opposite foot, just a ripper of a cross.
It was really a lovely sequence. That was a lovely build-up play by Fulham. And then that Traore cross, wish you could have seen it for Wolves, but...
And then the power on the header.
Yeah.
That had to be the strongest header of the season, or at least the quickest, because that thing ricocheted off his head at 100 miles an hour. No stopping it. But, hey, Chris Wood back on the score sheet, doing it all himself with the left foot. He's got 18 goals. He literally, I was just about to look to see how many Nottingham have. They have 41. He almost has 50% of their goals.
If you add in his assists, I'm sure he has been involved in more than half at that point.
I genuinely, I'm going to look it up right now to confirm it, but I genuinely believe that he is now Nottingham's all-time Premier League scorer. But you could talk about the third goal while I look that up.
Yeah, for the third goal, It was an interesting doubleheader off of a corner kick. I don't know if it was drawn up that way, but it was a corner kick that Raul Jimenez bounced over to the backside, and Calvin Bassey put it into the back of the net. A really nice goal there. Yeah, for Nottingham Forest, the question then becomes, you're in a good position here, but do you think, does your front office have the confidence in your squad to duplicate this effort, or do you cash out now on Chris Wood at the end of the season and sell him to make some money? And I don't know, it's a weird scenario where they try to make money but also try not to make the team worse. So I don't know. What do you think in that scenario? Do you keep Chris Wood to try to repeat, or just cash out while you're hot?
I really think it depends on where they end up. Because I think if they end up in European football, you kind of got to keep it. You can't really cash out. And in worst case, January comes around, you cash out for maybe 40 or 50 mil. A team like Nottingham will take that. But Chris Wood actually 9 goals ago broke Nottingham's Premier League all-time score. He's at 33. Next closest is 24. He scored 33 goals in 63 matches. So he's good for over a goal every other game.
That's efficient.
It's a good question. It's kind of like Wolves. I mean, Wolves are obviously in a different position, but Wolves and Cunha, he signed a new contract, but putting a £60 million release clause kind of insinuates that that's what he's going to go for in the summer. I don't think that he'll be there next year. I think it was just, hey, here's the price tag we want for you. Chris Wood could be the same if Nottingham don't end up finishing, because let's say worst case you finish 6th or 7th, you're out of Europe. Yeah, you might as well cash in, especially if a team's going to come in and pay 60, 70 million for him. But I don't know, because I think he was at Newcastle before this and they dumped him. So I don't know who would sign him outside of like an Arsenal team. I think he's probably a Nottingham player next season, but you never know. I mean, if he gets to like 25 goals, you start thinking, all right, this guy in the right situation can win some games for us.
It is an interesting question that we'll have to resolve later on because we don't know now. We'll move on to Manchester City wins 4-0. Omar Marmoush, what is this, his third match maybe? Is this his first start?
14-minute hat trick.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of those were just good goals. An Ederson assist on the first one, classic Ederson assist. The second one, great.
He is now the leader for goalkeepers all time. He broke the tie with that assist.
Wow. Then a great touch in the second goal there for Marmoush to set himself up for the third one. The second one. And then for the third one, he just found the void in the retreating Newcastle defense, sat down, found his spot, and put it in. It was really nice.
Yeah.
And then to clean everything up in the second half, Erling Haaland gets an assist. Sort of somewhat similar to the last goal there in the Fulham. It was a header on the front end of a corner kick that bounced to the back, and James McAtee was there to put it in. A very young lad, James McAtee. How old is he? Is he 17?
I think he's 21, 22 now.
Really? He looks like a young boy.
He does have a young face.
He's got a very youthful appearance. But yeah,
I will say that goal for McAtee was what we would call an and one in basketball, because he's getting just turned the opposite way, somehow puts it in. Pretty great. One player that it did not end up on any score sheet, ended up on the assist sheet, is Savinho. He played amazing. He made some amazing runs, put some great balls in, pressed really well. This is the style of City where you're thinking, oh, this team could actually win 14 straight and finish in second or third. Like, if they play like this every week, it's scary because De Bruyne, he didn't even get in. Foden didn't really do anything. Haaland got an assist but didn't score. So when you start to like move the chess pieces and get more people involved, these are the types of teams. It's not a big deal, but I know Arsenal, Liverpool, and Nottingham are at least paying attention to a 4-0 result like that.
Yeah, and it's strange to say, but Manchester City has been very uneven this calendar year. So, do you think that they'll have to try to take this sort of momentum into the midweek where they've got a very, they may be done with Champions League very soon, which would allow them to then focus on the Premier League. But we'll get to that in the Champions League section later on in this episode.
Yeah, one thing one thing I noticed before we move on is that Pep went back to his roots where 2 years ago, he pretty much quit playing with wing backs. He quit playing with a right back and a left back and put him in the middle. That's what he did this game. He only had 2 defenders in the back. He would have like a roaming wing back just kind of there just in case. But really, he only had 2 defenders back the whole time, and he had Kovacic and Gundogan just kind of back there navigating. Nico Gonzalez, a new signing, he played really well. But they went back to the system that worked really well 2 years ago, where we're going to have 2 guys in the midfield who are defensive-minded, 2 defenders, but that now allows you to substitute one of your left back or right backs for a creative player. And it really makes it tight up there in the front. So I think that was the tactical move that really opened it up against Newcastle.
Interesting. Well, we'll see if he holds out. I know he doesn't like to do. I don't think he's ever done the same lineup twice in a row at City across all competitions. So we'll see what sort of shuffle he makes, we'll say, for the midweek action. But then we move to Bournemouth taking out Southampton 3-1. Bournemouth bouncing back from their 2-0 loss to Liverpool over Southampton, but I mean not super shocking, even though they're at St. Mary's Stadium for Southampton. But
it was. This one was exactly how, at least I thought it was going to go. Southampton coming off a win. Maybe there's some momentum there, and when they made it 2-1, the place came alive.
Yeah.
But it went about as expected. Bournemouth just kind of controlled the match, took advantage of a couple of Southampton errors leading to goals. So
The 14th
it was just
minute.
that difference between team that's kind of a veteran a little bit in the Premier League, but mid-table team versus low-table. But that's all I have to say.
Yeah, really all 3 of them were defensive lapses. In the 14th minute, Ouattara slipped his defender and got free. 16th minute, it was a bad giveaway, and probably also something on the goalkeeper. It was not that crazy of a shot from Christie that got past him. And then in the 83rd, Southampton's defense just got sucked over to one side. They lost all their width, and Tavernier was able to slip it on the backside. So it was pretty common from what we've seen from Southampton. Just not solid on defense. Very, very Sheffield United-ish in some of that defensive effort, unfortunately. But, it's to be expected at this point. Bournemouth getting back on the right foot. They are now up in 5th. Right there, also 1 point behind Manchester City. So, looking at the top of this table, seeing Liverpool, Arsenal, okay, I get it. Nottingham Forest, what's even happening? Manchester City, I get it. Bournemouth, what are you doing? And then Chelsea, and you have to skip all the way down to, Tottenham and Manchester United are down in 12th and 15th, respectively, with Manchester United moving the wrong way. Are they up next? Not quite. We'll get to them in a minute. They're right there at the very end of the match day. First, though, we have to get to Brentford taking out West Ham at London Stadium 1-0. Did not have a lot of notes on this one. Did I have notes? Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Very narrow decision. Very narrow decision. Boy, what was that even about? You said very narrow
he shot
decision.
it, and the ball just barely went across the line when the goalkeeper saved it. Yeah. That was really the only action, if we're going to be honest, in this one.
Yeah, there was
one. But it was after there was a goalie save, another goalie save, then he puts it in, and it literally was. I mean, the ball was probably a couple inches over the line, but it was a narrow decision early, and that kind of set the tone for the match.
Yeah, and then Mohamed Kudus really bungled a tap-in chance in the 49th minute in the second half. That was my other note. That he could have brought it level for West Ham, but he missed the best opportunity they had all day, and so they didn't get any points out of it. But that's about it. Not a lot of good chances in that one. Then we'll move to Crystal Palace to wrap up our Saturday action. Everton continuing their run of good form with a 2-1 victory against Crystal Palace. Although I will say Crystal Palace had all sorts of chances in this one. They had scored first technically, but it was disallowed. It was off of a corner kick, but it was disallowed because the ball drifted out of bounds on the kick in. Otherwise, it was going to be a goal for, I can't remember who actually put that in, but it was going to be. And then the 42nd minute for Beto, it was very strange. It was a bad throw-in, just like misplaced throw-in by Crystal Palace that Everton sprung on first, and they just kind of had a little breakaway with no one paying attention on Crystal Palace and were able to get it in. And then Crystal Palace got theirs back on a recycled corner kick for Jean-Philippe Mateta. Got his in there. And then 80th minute, Carlos Alcaraz got the game winner. With really, I considered it kind of lucky. The ball was just kind of bouncing around in the box, and it sort of found its way to him on the backside, and he was able to put it in.
Yeah, I think it was probably a justified goal because there was definitely a shout for a handball right before that.
Yeah.
The guy tried to cross it in
Fair.
and just defender turns, but his elbow is out, hits off his elbow. So I think it probably ends up being a penalty. You never know if he's going to score, but Alcaraz taps it in. Honestly, the goalkeeper probably should save that. It wasn't like a crazy shot. It just went right by him. But yeah, Everton on it. David Moyes. Again, these are the types of, I don't know why I just said it like he was from Spain. David Moyes. David Moyes. He's turned it around. These are the types of manager changes where you look and you're like, oh, we're smart owners. We did this. Look at what we did. Man United should probably take some notes because, as we'll talk about, I'll just leave it. I'll leave the quote from Amorim for that one.
Yeah, we'll get there in a second, and they will also be playing Manchester United next in the weekend, so that'll be fun. Then one more before we finish up. I almost said that word. The next to last game match. Liverpool beats my Wolves, obviously 2-1. But you know what? It wasn't that bad. You know, my Wolves had their chances. I thought the first goal was a little bit lucky for Liverpool. I thought that the penalty...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it bounces right to him off his chest and goes in. I mean, you cannot get luckier than that with how that played out.
And then the pin I thought was soft. Like he hit the ball first and it was going out of bounds. He wasn't catching that thing. It was away from goal. You can call it, but I don't know. I mean, it wasn't. He didn't get any card for it, so it was more just a regular foul than rather depriving of a goal scoring opportunity. But if the goalkeepers have an equal right to the ball, right?
They have more right to the ball.
Yeah.
If we're going with history, this one, I mean, this was a Wolves game where I feel like it was a good 2-1 loss.
Yeah.
Because they showed that like they can fight with the big boys. It's just the results. This is kind of what I was talking about in the first half of the season. Wolves are good. The results just aren't falling their way. Yeah. And I think that they're getting to a point where they're going to start falling their way. But Cunha's goal with the opposite foot was
nice.
It's good. Pretty.
Yeah, that was a good hit. It was certainly a nice consolation prize. Like a 2-0 would have been tough to swallow. 2-1, you're like, okay. 2-1 against league leaders at their place. I'll take that. We weren't embarrassed.
I was happy with it because it gave me my perfect pick. So
it did give you your perfect pick. Yeah. So I mean that makes up for it being not a very good units play. Getting the perfect pick on it. Neither of us did very well this weekend. We'll get to that in just a second. First, we have to talk about the Tottenham 1-0 victory over Manchester United, with the goal coming in the 13th minute for James Maddison. Really, I think that one's a bit on Onana. Like he did not clear the ball out of the box when he made his deflection, when he stopped the first shot in. He should have either grabbed it or punched it harder. But instead it just sort of trundles to the backside and James Maddison is there to put it in directly. So that's one of those questionable Onana moves that he makes every other match, it seems like. And then
you're right about that one. Like, the shot on target was not a strong one.
No.
Maybe there was some spin on it we didn't see, but it wasn't a strong shot. He should be stopping the ball.
Yeah.
But it literally looked like, I mean, again, speculation. But he's looking one way out of the corner of his eye. He sees Maddison there, and it's almost like he pushed it into his path.
Almost, yeah.
Because I'm not saying it was deliberate. I'm not claiming anything. But it was like, whoa, that is a picture-perfect goalkeeper gaff for Maddison to score on. But I mean, there was a lot of action in this one for it only being 1-0.
There was. And in 72nd minute, it really should have been 1-1. Xerxes had a free header. Should have been an easy conversion, especially with how big Xerxes is. And he totally messed that one up. It should have been 1-1 at that point, and then it was anybody's match after that. With it being in the 72nd minute, but still plenty to play for. But he doesn't put it in. Tottenham kind of locks things down after that. There's some other opportunities, but no one was very efficient in this one at all. I mean, there were a lot of bad takes by the offense there for Manchester United. Just errant shots straight at the goalkeeper. Wasn't an inspiring play by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all. Not at all. And, Amarim, after this one, he said, my job is really, really hard. The man has more memorable quotes from like a 2-month tenure than any other manager. Well, of course your job is hard. That's why they brought you in.
Yeah.
Fix the hard, do the hard stuff and fix it. The guy, I don't think he's cut out for it. To be honest, it's kind of clear that he's not cut out for it. But saying that, and Ainge Postecoglou, he kind of quipped back at him because, Amram's talking about injury issues and you don't know how hard my job is. And Ainge is like, welcome to my world. That was his direct quote after that. Yeah. It's just, you as a manager, you see the top managers like, I'm going to figure it out. Oh, I don't know what's going on. We'll figure it out. Like, they're resigned to the reality, but at the very least, they're saying, but I'm going to keep fighting. Amram just stops. He just stops and says, yep, we're in a relegation battle. And then it goes silent. Or, oh, my job is so hard.
And to Postecoglou's credit, we would have kicked him to the curb at some point during their huge slump where between December
they were
1st,
like the second worst team in the Premier League since match day 18.
Yeah, between December 1st and January 26th, they had a total of 5 points during that stretch, and since then they've had two straight wins. So that he survived through that speaks to at least the front office's confidence in him. We'll see how the rest of the season turns out, but he's at least at this point secured them for next season. I think with this many matches left and you're already at 30 points, well, I'd say that. But, if they play as they did during that, was it a 10-match span? Yeah, if they only got 5 points over the next 10 matches, then they're still only at 35, which is not super safe. We'll see. I mean, it'll depend on how, Ipswich Town and Leicester and Wolves do. There's quite a gap there between 17th and 16th, but some of those teams are falling down towards those relegation sides. Yeah. But for the match day in total, it was 11. It was an 11 match day. So I went 3-8. Lovely 3-8. My worst week since match day 15. I think I looked back and saw. So even the favorites didn't do very well. I mean, they technically won the weekend. They went 5-6, but only still lost units. And then you were 4-7 with your perfect pick pulling up a little bit, but still at almost -3 units total. So not a certain our worst week. What did I say? Worst week since match day 17. I think that was it. Yeah, match day 17.
Yeah, it wasn't great. 15. We'll bounce back.
We'll bounce back. Yeah, we got some we got some picks to make still, so we'll see. First, though, before we get to, we do have some picks to make today, but we'll get to those in just a second. First, we need to go ahead and change gears over to Champions League action and talk about the first leg of the knockout stage, which we both ended up in positive units, if only just for those. And there they are. Okay. Starting off with... I almost said Brentford. It's Brest and PSG. Starting with Brest and PSG, which was a victory for PSG. 3-0 victory for PSG. What is it?
Yeah, I predicted 4-0, so I was pretty
close.
Bummed. PSG decided to just, quit on me there. But, I mean, they've been beating up on Brest for a minute.
Yeah.
Because they beat Brest February 1st 5-2 in league play. And then they just beat up on them again in the Champions League. So,
That's right.
It wasn't an entertaining match, to say. PSG clearly looked like the better side.
No, I mean, Vitinha got his penalty in the 21st minute. Brest nearly equalized in the 34th minute, but after that, like the 45th minute by Dembele, that was just lax defense and poor goalkeeping. And the 68th, the match was kind of feeling over already, and that was more of an unlucky deflection that landed right at PSG's feet and Dembele's feet than anything else. But PSG was never threatened after they went up 2-0, really. You could probably salt this one away. You go 3 up on difference at the away leg. I mean, you already said, what was it? No one has ever come back from losing a home fixture. Is that right?
Well, it's very rare.
It's very rare. Well, one of them that you would be hoping is rare is the next one that we have to talk about, which is Manchester City losing 2-3 to Real Madrid, and that scoreline does not tell the story because Manchester City was up 2-1 in the 80th minute with a late penalty there by Erling Haaland. But both, this was a really entertaining match. Like there's back and forth on both sides, and just ended up Real Madrid was more efficient at converting than Manchester City was.
Yeah, this one definitely the scoreline does not tell the tale of the tape. I felt like City played really well in this one and played well enough to win, obviously, but this is one of those matches where you kind of feel a player like Kevin De Bruyne may be a shell of himself, because there were some moments where I just didn't feel like he made the pass that he normally would make or took control of the match when he normally would. Haaland played great, but I don't know. It's just back to the issues that have been going on all season, at least past 3 months, is the defense just cannot hold when it needs to hold.
Individual misplays. Like in this one, I got on Ederson, not Ederson. I got on Onana in the weekend. Let me get on Ederson here. The second goal there for Brahim Diaz, and he chests it. The shot was coming at him fast from close range, so I guess he didn't have time to get his hands in the way. But then he chests it back into the box. I mean, that's right to Brahim Diaz. So that was bad. And then for the Jude Bellingham winning goal, was that Kovacic who totally misplayed that ball? I thought it was Kovacic. So. Yeah. And then the defense just didn't drive at the ball. I can't remember who was covering him on the wing, but he let the ball bounce. When, growing up playing defense, like you need to run to the ball wherever it is if you're on defense. Don't let the offense beat you to the ball, because then they get the control where it goes after that. And Jude Bellingham is very quick, so you definitely don't want to give him any opportunities to get an advantage on you, and that's what happened. So, ergo, Real Madrid gets a 3-2 victory away. Now, it's only one goal. It's only a one-goal loss, and I believe that away goals don't factor into tiebreakers really anymore. So, we'll see. Manchester City, if they just can win by one goal, they'll go into extra time and then figure it out from there. But we'll see what happens in the end. Anything else about Citizens going down?
Well, if they play like they did over the weekend, I think that we've got a shot.
Certainly.
But Real Madrid, we contained their stars well. It's just at the end, mistakes. And even in the Premier League action, they still had some mistakes. They just didn't turn to goals. So it's really, will this next fixture, will they be able to keep the mistakes at a minimum? I don't know. Real Madrid, very good at home. So it'll be a tough climb.
Yep. Yep. And then we'll get to Juve and PSV here with the next one. Let me get back to those notes. This one goes Juve's way, the home side's way, which I think we both picked. No, neither of us picked it. Hooray!
No, yeah.
Neither of us picked it. I picked a draw, and you picked PSV actually winning. This one started off pretty well for Juve. 34th minute, PSV just couldn't get the ball cleared. Is that Weston McKennie?
Weston McKennie,
Weston
USA,
McKennie, look at that! Wow, I didn't catch that when I was going through the match. It was Weston McKennie in the 34th minute was able to put it in the back of the net with them not being able to clear it. 56th minute, PSV comes back and draws level with a Perisic goal. It was another deflection that just sort of falls to PSV, but it was a great first touch to clear the ball out of his feet for Perisic. Just a one touch to the middle and nice hammer to the near post. And then 82nd minute, Juve is able to Mengbangula. We'll go with that. Mengbangula. That's cool. Close enough. This one, it was another goalkeeper error here with the PSV goalkeeper settling the ball right in front of that player.
Bangula.
Bangula. I'm just calling Bangula.
Usually the M, sometimes it's silent, sometimes
it's a difficult phoneme for native English speakers because it's not one that we have really in our native language. So Bangula.
Mbappe.
Bangula. I'm putting too many syllables in there, but something along those lines. Still, good result for Juve, obviously. Puts them on the right foot going towards the round of 16. Anything you needed to say about that one in particular?
Juve not been playing super well as far as finishing matches, which is kind of why I went PSV winning. But good on Juve. I think they're on a good, strong footing for the away match.
Yep. And then we go to sportingcp and Borussiadortmund to finish out Tuesday. How'd you feel about this one? We both got this one right. Yes, we both went with Dortmund over Sporting. Got our 3 units locked up there.
Yeah, this one, Sporting, probably the team in the worst form that made the knockout round. Since Amorim left, I think it was after match day 3 of the Champions League, I think they picked up 7 points out of those, and then they ended with 10. They had 1 win at the very end. So not in good form. This went pretty much as expected. Yeah. Dortmund just attacking him in all cylinders, being more organized. Mm-hmm. And this pretty much feels like the PSG game where 3-0, Dortmund now gets to go home to the yellow wall. I don't see how they don't make it to the next round.
Yeah. There's a lovely looping header for Gurase. Boy, I should probably write down how to say these names too. Off of a cross. Another great cross to an unmarked man for the second one with Gross. And then Adeyemi, just a lightning counterattack. Yeah, it was left till the second half, but really convincing win for Dortmund. Don't want to be facing them going in the round of 16. Whoever gets them, not going to be great. Not going to be happy about it. Then we'll move to Wednesday. Or do we want to go ahead and make the picks for the opposite legs on those? I guess we could go ahead and just flip that out there real quick. Yeah, and then as we go through it for the other ones, we'll do the pick for the reverse fixture as we go through the actual match. Probably should have settled that beforehand. But anyways, for Dortmund and Sporting, I've got Dortmund winning it again, 4-0. You're at Dortmund's place now. They play better at home, and you already got beat 3-0. So 4-0 is the logical conclusion there.
Yeah, I've got this 2-0 mainly because Dortmund, I think, will get an early goal and kind of feel settled into winning it.
Settled back, yeah.
So I think 2-0 feels good for me, and they win on aggregate 5-0.
And then for PSG and Brest.
I have it as 4-1. I want Brest to get a goal. But boy, when these two teams play, there's a lot of goals usually, and I think PSG is going to still blow them out at home. Yeah, 4-1.
I'm going units play here. I'm going to give Brest the win, 2-1. So PSG still goes through.
Wow.
But I get some units off of it. That's basically it. And then for PSV and Juve, I've got it as a 2-2 draw. I think PSV is going to be pushing hard, but I think that Juve is able to get a goal late to bring it back 2-2 and spoil PSV's home turf advantage.
I think it'll be the exact same result as the first one, 2-1 Juve.
And then I'll let you start off with do you think City goes through?
I think I have to as a City fan. We played really well on the weekend. Marmoush, now that he's comfortable, I mean, he changes the game.
Yeah.
I was texting my brother on the weekend, and I said, Marmoush is pretty much just a right-footed Phil Foden. They move the same, they make the same runs in, they stretch the defense, and open up everything else, because when Haaland is there, you got to put one guy, if not two guys, looking at him. So more runs like that, I think it can happen. I'm going to go 3-1. City wins, moves on.
And it'll be interesting to see teams have to react to Marmoush's presence if he's able to keep that level of play. Because you're right, like you got to pick your poison at some point, or do you just like have all the quote unquote role players for City take over the offensive attack? Like, oh, because Phil Foden and Jeremy Doku and all those other guys can't score. I think that they can. So that then it's just going to be too much talent up top. But I still think that they won't be at that point yet. I don't trust City to put together great results multiple weeks in a row right now. I'm going to go 2-2 for this one as well. I think that it's very similar to Juve's. Real Madrid is able to get a goal late because City can sometimes lose focus when it gets late and pull it back level. It was going to be going to extra time, but instead it just is a regular time aggregate victory for Real Madrid. Is that also the most units out of the three choices? It is. So that's what I'm going to go with. And then we'll move to the Wednesday action, starting off with Club Brugge getting a win against Atalanta, scoring more goals against them than basically anybody all tournament, I believe, if I remember correctly. Atalanta, is that right? Did they get through with... Was it them or it was another Italian team that had so few? But still, they
Brugge, I think, I'm going to look right now, they came in with 7 goals for. Atalanta came in with 20 goals for.
Wow. So quite a reversal of fortune in this match then. The first goal for Brugge coming in the 15th, it was a really terrible... To be fair to Atalanta, I mean, they weren't necessarily totally earned goals. Because in the 15th minute, it was just a terrible giveaway, which you could consider an earned goal, I suppose. But it was a terrible giveaway by Atalanta that sprung Jutkla. Sure, we'll go with that. For his goal. Then Pasalic got... it was ongoing pressure from Atalanta, got the goal in the 41st minute. And then I said, wow, that's so bad. I actually can't read what the word says, but it was not a great penalty call. Because I believe that was the one where he was driving out of the box, right? And he
it was
bumped the guy over. It was pretty weak.
I certainly don't want games of this magnitude ending in penalties anyway, but
and
this
90
one was
plus 4 as well.
A bit more
controversial
because it just didn't feel like
lame. That's the word. It says lame. I forgot to connect the top of my A. That's so lame of a PK is what I said.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I can see why it was called, but
it's just a little flip of the hand back into his face. I remember now. Yeah, that really it was lame. Because he barely made contact, first of all. It was a flop. And he was winning the ball already.
Yeah, it's the pass interference flag with 5 seconds left in the end zone to give the offense another chance.
Something from the 2-yard line.
It's the foul called with 2 seconds left when the game is tied to give the other team free throws. It's just like and here's another thing. We definitely don't have to talk about it, but the fact that 80% of penalties have been made this season. That's a lot of penalties made. And over the course of history, it's like 85% of penalties are often made. So essentially you are handing a team statistically a win or a point or whatever you're doing. So it's just, you don't want to see this in the 90 plus 4. I would have hoped that VAR would have gotten involved and been like, hey, it's nothing. But to each his own, and it ended up being a huge upset.
Yeah. Because now Atalanta... So how do you think this reverse fixture goes then for Atalanta and Brugge?
I think Atalanta wins it 3-1. I think they're going to come out steaming, kind of like you thought PSV would.
Yeah.
You don't score 20 goals and only give up 6 in the group stages just to bow out right now. I think they get 3-1. Brugge makes it interesting, but Atalanta wins it 4-3 on aggregate.
I've got it 2-0. So I'm sort of the same sort of vibe, just more lockdown defense. And Brugge because like I said, in this one, the first goal for Brugge, it was a bad giveaway by Atalanta, so not exactly, unlocking their defense. And then very questionable penalty there at the end. Tough for Atalanta. I hope that they can move on because they would make an interesting opponent for round of 16. But, they've got work to do to get there. Then we'll move to Feyenoord and AC Milan. This was another shock result here. Feyenoord wins it outright, 1-0 victory over Milan after a third-minute goal. Miserable conditions in the first half for this one. It looked like it was probably like 30, 40 degrees and just driving rain. Looked horrible to be there. Not great soccer weather. And that's really why I think the first goal was, because the ball was not well hit, and it just sort of sklopped, some sort of messy onomatopoetic verb over the top of the goalkeeper on a weird bounce for a guy's name, Pai Zhao. I'll go with that. I think it's some sort. It seems Brazilian, probably,
Igor.
or Portuguese. Same
Igor.
language. So. But yeah, and then Milan just couldn't get. It was very wet, and I think that they couldn't get the ball where they needed to be. Couldn't make the right hit on the ball at the end, because there were plenty of chances that Milan had over the remaining 87 minutes of the match plus stoppage time, but none of it worked.
Yeah, Feyenoord, they got that dog in them. Third-minute goal, I mean, little lucky. Everyone's got to get a little bit of luck on their side, but I mean, they fought hard in this one. The home fans were in it. Big win, especially, I mean, there wasn't any crazy celebrations at the end. Like, you could feel the passion after the final whistle. I think the reverse fixture, Feyenoord ends up taking the whole thing. I think they draw 2-2. I was very impressed. Like, miserable conditions or not, they played as if they belonged. Not as if they were
spirited effort for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they bring that back. Milan has been a team that has not been the most consistent, similar to Juve. A lot of the Italian teams have that same mantra about them. So I think Feyenoord can pull off the upset and move on.
No, I'm hanging with Captain America. I think he's going to get himself a brace in this next one. Our good old boy Pulisic. It's Oh, shoot. Is it Pulisic? It's Pulisic, right? Because he's American. So he says Pulisic. I think that he gets himself a brace in the next one. 2-0 victory for Milan. Probably won't happen, but it might. It might happen. I'm hoping it does. Then to one that you definitely didn't get right here. Celtic and Bayern Munich. This one, 2-1 does not tell the tale here, because I felt like Celtic was overmatched throughout basically the whole thing. They gave up 2 goals on just the other side of the half. The second one, 49th minute, they leave Harry Kane unmarked on a corner kick. How do you let that happen? He's able to convert that one easily. And even then, Celtic almost had a perfect start. I think they scored. The ball hit the back of the net within the first minute, but they got called offsides for it. And then Celtic had some chances there at the end. They got back the one in the 79th with Maeda, but they weren't able to seal the comeback again with their home fans. And Bayern is probably in good position, I think, to move on to the round of 16. I mean, they are in good position. Probably.
I really thought, I mean, there at the beginning, I was like, all right, Celtic's about to prove me right. But the offside goal, I felt like it was one of those big emotional highs where everything was going right. It's called back, and you kind of just don't recover from that. I never really saw Celtic till they got one back recover from that. So I think Bayern's going to win the reverse fixture. I think it's going to be 3-1. I think Celtic will put up a fight, but they really needed a Brugge or Feyenoord type result and they just didn't get it, didn't fall their way. You mentioned the mistakes. So Celtic, it's been a good run, but I hate to break it to you. I think Bayern's going to be the team moving on.
Yep, I got it 4-1. So basically the same sort of thing for that. And then to the final match, Monaco and Benfica, a 1-0 victory for Benfica in the 40th minute.
What to say about this one? Yeah. I mean, the red card didn't really do much for this match, except make sure that Monaco couldn't come back.
It was a lame one too, because it was a second yellow for asking for a yellow on a foul that got a yellow. It was a pretty he must have been on that ref's nerves or something, because that was, I mean, by the book you can give it, but for second yellow when they had the impetus at that point, I think Monaco, and it totally derailed whatever they had in them.
Yeah, definitely one of those where the ref feels like, oh, you disrespected me, therefore I need to show my power in this situation. I understand if it's his first yellow.
Yeah.
For extent, fine. But it's a grunge match. They're going after it. These teams are fighting hard for their life here in the Champions League. And you do that. I just didn't like it.
So as a rule, I do think that Monaco comes back in the second and wins it 2-0, and they go through to the next round.
That makes one of us partner. I think it's going to be 2-1 Benfica. They're at home. I think they'll be good enough to stay at home.
Well, we'll see. We're on the opposite sides of quite a few of these, or at least differing sides on quite a few of these coming into the midweek. And then we have one other pick to make for Wednesday, the Aston Villa match versus Liverpool for what I'm considering the first match of Matchday 26. EPL might disagree with me. They say it's the last match of Matchday 25. With our cycle, it's the first one of Matchday 26. So it's going on there. I've got this one. It's a bit against the grain because Aston Villa did not look great in the weekend. But Liverpool is playing a lot still. They have to look forward to a match on the weekend, and then they have their first round of 16 match, I believe, next week, right? Is that right, or do they get a week off in between? No, it's happening Friday. Oh, that's when the draw is. The draw is on Friday for announcing the matches, which will be then. They don't have them posted on their website. Great, awesome. I think it'll be for next week. Maybe there's a week off. I don't know. Who knows? Either way, I'm calling it a 2-2 draw for Aston Villa. They're at home. Liverpool has a lot to worry about, and I want them 4 units. So 2-2 draw is what I have.
That is also what I had.
I'll move to 1-1.
That's fine. I think that Aston Villa now has the attacking prowess to keep up with Liverpool. 2-2 is honestly a really good pick because Liverpool has just scored 2 goals in a ton of their games, and no more or no less. But I do think that the monotonous way of these fixtures just coming every 3 days and 3 days and 3 days is going to catch up to them. Aston Villa does make me nervous because last year they were the defensive stout team, and this year they're sitting at 9th with a -3 goal difference.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bode well for them to get a result, but I do think at home they've got a shot to draw it up.
Yeah, I'm certainly hoping so as well. All right, and that brings us to the end of this episode. Make sure, if you don't like watching us on YouTube, if you don't like seeing our lovely faces, we are on all of the podcast applications, if you wanted to do that. If you wanted to head on over to our Substack and drop us a sub there, that's where you would have found our picks. We did post our picks for Champions League. Were they great picks? They finished with positive units for both of us, okay? So, give us a little bit of grace on that. But they were posted as an article on our Substack. So, if you don't ever see an episode covering some matches, check there and you'll probably find some for that. And if you drop that subscription, then you get email notifications. Haha! Wow, that's so interesting. Either way, thank you for being here. Anything else you got to say before we kick it on out? Oh, hey, that's interesting.
Kick it on out. It's picking up. the Champions League, FA Cup, EFL Cup, finals coming up, I believe, soon.
Now, Wolves made it through to fourth round of one of those.
I think the FA Cup.
FA Cup.
I think the FA Cup. It's just, as we mentioned, this is usually where the table starts to expand. You already mentioned it earlier, that just between 17th and 16th is 12 points. That's a big gap, because essentially now Man U at 16th just has to lose, or whoever's at 16th just has to keep losing to get down. But hey, it makes for an exciting 17th, 18th, 19th race. Champions League still on. I don't know. If you're just now tuning into the Premier League, you're tuning in at a good time. There's a lot at stake and a lot of teams that are going to change spots. Preferably, Ipswich gets up to 12th, so my prediction looks really good. And
12th? I don't know about 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be such a fun episode to see how wrong we were, how bad picking Nottingham Forest to get relegated was. Some people are in for some cup ins, and by some people I mean me mostly. We'll see. We'll see how it all We'll see how it all settles down. But I think it's pretty sure it's literally impossible for Nottingham Forest to be relegated at this point. I think mathematically it is literally impossible. Let's see.
Yeah, most
47,
likely. Most
30.
likely.
No, technically not. Technically not. If they lost every match from here on out, and Ipswich won every match from here on out, they would get 39 points. They would get another 39 points and would be above Nottingham Forest. So not technically safe yet, but they're safe. They can't lose. They can't lose 13 straight. That's not going to happen. Who are they? Sheffield United? Who are they? Southampton? Nah, they ain't going to lose 13 straight. Even Southampton hasn't lost 13 straight. They had some draws in there, and you'd only need a couple draws to make yourself safe. Anyway,
Amen to that.
That's way too much analysis for something that's not going to happen. So we'll just say, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you on the other side. La con.